Hi there, Year 3. It's time for another story time and to find out about another one of the world's worst children. Today we're going to find out about Grubby Gertrude. And just to remind you, I've got permission to read this book whilst we're off on lockdown. Okay, so Grubby Gertrude, who is she? So it says she's got a delighted look on her face. She's got stinking socks, a cloud of pong coming from her feet, and some grimy, unwashed clothes. What do you know about Grubby Gertrude already? I think she doesn't like to... Yeah, that's right. Wash. I don't think she likes to wash. What do you think? Oops. Here we go. Grubby Gertrude. Do you know an extremely dirty child, a grimy girl, a foul-smelling boy? However dirty and stinky they might be, they could never compare to Grubby Gertrude. This was a girl who delighted in being the dirtiest child in the world. Soap and water were complete strangers to Gertrude. Everywhere she went, a huge cloud of dust and dirt and pong followed her. Needless to say, everything Grubby Gertrude touched became grubby too. Her school books were splattered and stained with unspeakable things, and despite her mother's protestations, Gertrude refused to let her clothes be washed, so in no time they became encrusted with dirt too. However, the grubbiest thing in Gertrude's life was her bedroom. Although her mother begged her to tidy it, Gertrude never, ever did. She simply dropped everything on the floor. It was as if her room was her own personal rubbish dump. Over time, the pile of pongy trainers, half-eaten egg sandwiches, snotty tissues, and hamster droppings that had gone white and crumbly. The hamster had long since disappeared, came up to Gertrude's knees. The only way Gertrude could make it to her mucky bed was to wade through tons of rubbish. The bedroom carpet was a distant memory. It had not been seen for years. But being one of the world's worst children, Gertrude loved living knee-deep in filth. The grubbier, the better. Now let me take a moment to tell you about Gertrude's feet. They were so grubby, they looked like those of a troll. Look, there's a troll's feet. And that is Grubby Gertrude's feet. She's got overgrown dirty toenails and fungus. Ugh, I bet they stink. Each foot was covered in a green fungus, and she had long curling toenails that she refused to cut. As a result, her feet smelled even worse than runny cheese that had gone off decades ago. When Gertrude peeled each sock off at the end of the day, she would lift it to her nose. The girl would sigh in pleasure. You or I would have screamed at the smell, or at the very least projectile vomited. Not Gertrude. She was over the moon that her socks were the pongiest in the world. Then, like everything else, Gertrude would simply drop them on top of the ever-growing mountain of muck on her bedroom floor. Oh my goodness, I'm glad Grubby Gertrude doesn't live in my house. Please tidy your room this instant, Gertrude's mother would plead. The poor lady was in torment. She prided herself on keeping the rest of her house utterly spotless. If a single biscuit crumb dropped onto the carpet, Mother would get the vacuum cleaner out. The grubbiness of Gertrude's bedroom was absolutely horrifying to her. How had she, a lady who always kept a vase of fresh flowers on the dining table, given birth to a child who chose to live in a swamp? Bog off, Gertrude would reply with a laugh. She knew that her mother always immaculately turned out with her hair in a swirl and a string of pearls round her neck, loathed her saying the word bog. So Gertrude always made sure she used it when speaking to her. "Daughter, I forbid you from using that foul word," Mother would wail. "What, bog?" Gertrude would answer mischievously. "Yes, it's a frightful word that has no place in my otherwise delightful home. Now, young lady, I need you to tidy your room this instant." "Bog off!" Gertrude would shout back. If the girl wouldn't tidy her room, then her mother decided that she would. As soon as Gertrude left for school one morning, Mother put her plan into action. Armed with thick rubber gloves and a roll of 100 pink perfumed bin bags, she hurtled upstairs with her sleeve over her nose and mouth. Such was the stinkerama. "Charge!" she bellowed as if going into battle. With all her might, Mother hurled herself against the daughter's bedroom door. Humph! But the door would only open a tiny bit. The pile of grot had grown to waist height. Oh. "Ah!" screamed Mother as she sneaked a peek through the crack in the door at the sea of filth. "Ugh!" she bellowed as the pong hit her smack on the nose. The problem was that, try as she might, Gertrude's mother couldn't get inside her daughter's room. Gertrude could just about squeeze her little body through and surf over the rubbish. For her mother, that was impossible. The lady was about to admit defeat when, ping, she had an idea. Keeping the door wedged open with her shoe, she hopped back down the stairs to grab her vacuum cleaner. She pushed the long hose of the machine through the gap in Gertrude's door and flicked the switch. Bzzz! The lady was delighted as the nozzle started sucking things up. A full carton of chocolate milkshake that had turned rancid, a pus-filled plaster, a lump of mouldy cheese. Mother smiled to herself. By the time her daughter was back from school, she might just have the rubbish down to ankle height. At that moment, the vacuum cleaner made an awful droning noise. Ugg, 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 ugg. Before there was a sound of metal being bent, cronk, the vacuum cleaner shook violently and exploded. Bang! Mother was covered from head to toe in all the things the machine had sucked up. Oh, can you imagine? "The horror! The horror!" she wailed at being caked in dirt, dust, and rancid chocolate milkshake, among other things. She bent down to examine her vacuum cleaner. It had been smashed to pieces. Something extremely big and strong must have broken it. Was there something lurking under the rubbish in her daughter's bedroom that could have done that? "Hello?" called Mother. There was no answer. The lady dismissed it as a foolish thought. The vacuum cleaner must have somehow bent itself. She staggered to the bathroom, desperate to get clean. When Gertrude returned from school, her mother was still in the bath, her 27th that day. Before the lady could say anything, the girl had dashed up the stairs and squeezed herself back into her bedroom. Using an old plastic tray from a fast food restaurant, Gertrude surfed across the rubbish to her bed. There she peeled off her damp socks, a pair that had been worn hundreds of times without ever being washed. Gertrude was delighted to see that fungus had begun to appear on them. You know what fungus is? It's like mould. Rummaging deep down in the murky depths of her muck, the girl found another sock that she had dropped there many years before. This one had a number of unusual-looking growths spouting out of it, like misshapen vegetables from distant solar systems. Gertrude realised her grubbiness had reached such an epic level that things were growing out of it. However, nothing could prepare the girl for what was about to happen. Oh, I'm going to leave this story here. You have a little think about what you think is going to happen next in the story, and we'll finish it tomorrow.